So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the ADHD Reframe Project with me, host Emma Craven. And today I'm joined by Cynthia. So, Cynthia, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit, please?
Sure. I'm here in the US. I live in Washington State, and I have known about having ADHD probably for 33 years now. I got diagnosed when I was 49 years old, and within 3 years of after getting diagnosed, I started a nonprofit called ADD Resources. I thought I was the only adult in America who knew they had ADHD, so I wanted to help other adults learn about it. But I also went to the first conference that was held for adults with ADHD, and I realized I wasn't the first, but I was probably in the batch of the first because Dr. Hallowell and Terry Matlin and Sari Solden were there. They were kind of became big names in the ADHD field in the US. So that's how I got my start in the ADHD nonprofit world. And I ran that ADHD resources for over 15 years. Then I retired, but during COVID, I wrote a book about my life with ADHD, and I got back into the ADHD world when I realized that people with the inattentive type of ADHD were still going underdiagnosed. I started a new nonprofit called the Inattentive ADHD Coalition. And the website for that, if anyone listening is inattentive type, because so often we get pushed off the stage by the combined type, it's iadhd.org. And this past year, we wanted to work in America to get all children screened with ADHD. And I know in England, you're working to get all children screened for all neurodivergent conditions. I think that's awesome. But our goal was smaller, was just to get children with ADHD screened. And we were told, and that this is probably true in England, that people already feel like too many of us are diagnosed with ADHD. And so we were told that we would get more traction if we just focused on getting girls diagnosed with ADHD because so people are recognizing that the females have gone underdiagnosed. So this past year we started a project under the Inattentive ADHD Coalition called Find the ADHD Girls. And the website for that is just what I said, findtheadhdgirls.org. And our mission is for girls to get identified before the age of 8. And the reason for that is, well, there's several reasons, but boys, we've learned on average get diagnosed by age 7. And so we wanted that to be available for girls as well.
And what is the criteria for kind of screening girls, please?
Well, on our website, we have a checklist, and it's not diagnostic, but it is if you're a parent and you fill out the checklist was developed specifically around a girl that's 7 years old. And so if parents fill that out and get many checklists, many checks in many areas of the checklist, I think there's 15 different areas, then we advise them to go see a physician and to bring a copy of the form with them. So sometimes parents don't have good data going to see the physician, but if they fill out our checklist and collect some data, that will really help them with getting the diagnosis or
Yeah.
making the visit go smoothly. So the thing about our checklist is that it's written in a simple language, a really clear language. It describes the kind of behaviors you'd see in a young girl. And in addition, beyond what the DSM covers from physicians and psychologists, we have additional items in our checklist which cover anxiety, depression, rejection sensitivity, and sensory issues, because we were told those are commonly seen in girls with ADHD. And our checklist is not just for the inattentive type of girl with ADHD, it's for whether you're combined or inattentive type. And just yesterday, I had a woman write me because she filled out our questionnaire as an adult, imagining how she was as a child. And she said, bingo, someone would have picked up her ADHD if they had been looking at these different areas.
Yeah. And, personally, I think historically, boys have been diagnosed more than girls, um, at school age and at any young age, and I think it's amazing that you're kind of focusing on you know, girls before they're 8 years old because I read a bit of research that said young girls with undiagnosed ADHD at age 7 have 6 times more traumatic experiences or negative conditioning. They're told more negative kind of information at a very young age, and then obviously that trauma can be carried into their adult life, can't it? So I love the fact that you're trying to get girls under the age of 8 screened, because if I think back to when I was at school, I was the daydreamer. I was quiet sometimes. I'm not quiet anymore, but and I used to do things very differently to other people, and if I think back to my childhood, I think I have grieved the young girl at school that just was trying to do her best to get through the days. So yeah, I think the work that you're doing at the moment is just absolutely magnificent. So, I take my hat off to you. So what was your diagnosis like? Would you be able to talk me through a bit about your diagnosis journey?
Well, I mean, I think you're going to be shocked at how I got diagnosed because I think we were in the Wild West back then, and there were now in the US, they're trying to develop, symptoms for adult ADHD, but back then it was just on children. So the way I got diagnosed, and actually I just wrote I'm in a writing class and I wrote a short little article about it yesterday, but I'm living in a retirement home now, a retirement facility in our own apartment. Um, in 1992, I was actually the social worker on the staff at this facility.
Okay.
And the administrator had a grandson who had ADHD, and I had a son with ADHD. So we used to share information. And in the US, I don't know if it is true in the England, but if your child was prescribed a stimulant medication, you had to go every month to see the doctor. So my son would go for 15-minute appointments every month and we were going for over a year. So I had been seeing this pediatrician 12 times at least for 15-minute segments at a time. Well, back where I was working, when my administrator came to supervise me, she started to talk about things about my variable, um, my variable performance, my doing things that weren't part of my duties, my doing things without asking permission. And some of that just crystallized. This sounds a lot like ADHD. And I had been thinking about it back and forth because I was learning it was genetic and my son had it. Had 3 sons, but there just seemed like there was one that was having the ADHD issues. So I said to her, I think I have ADHD. And she said back to me, I think so too. The next month, when I went to the pediatrician with my son, I said, Dr. Smith, I think I have ADHD. And he said, You do. So then I got diagnosed. And because he was a developmental pediatrician, that's a special training where he could treat adults as well. So he's the one that put me on medication. And what he said to me when he diagnosed me is, I envy you. You'll get to start a whole new life. And he said that to me when I was 49 years old. But it was true because within 3 years, I started the nonprofit, and I never could have thought of doing that without the changes that I was making in my life and how I was running my life. So I said, because now, even after that, I can tell when people have ADHD. I think sometimes it can be very simple, but sometimes it is complicated, but it's not always complicated. In the writing class I'm in now, I already identify 3 other people out of 12, 3 other people that have I believe, have ADHD. And for one of them, it's the first time I've taken the bravery to mention it to her because I wanted to say, if you're having trouble in life, maybe you want to explore medication. And she came back and said that she'd never been diagnosed, but she really thinks she has ADHD. There's just some I don't know what the quality is that they'll show up late for the meeting. When it's time to talk, they talk too much. They give too much backstory. They talk on things that aren't totally related to what the teacher wants to talk about and make it a little difficult for the teacher to keep the program running. But then when they read their writing, it's amazing. It's so interesting. It's so creative. One woman, she writes poetry every time. She puts things together that no one else would have ever done. And so, their gifts come through. At the same time, their challenges are there. Even in a simple 2-hour class, you can see the the behaviors. Now, we're told with young girls that even as early as age 3, they start masking. And I've been told, which is upsetting, is that some parents love having a perfect daughter. A daughter that's masking and then trying to be perfect. The parents don't have much incentive to say, well, no, there's nothing the matter. She's perfect. But you need to realize what trying to be perfect, the strain it puts on your daughter, and how it can lead to anxiety and depression and burnout. And so that's why we think even when you have a perfect daughter, if you start asking her, how hard is this for you? Don't ask it, are you fine? Because she's always going to answer that she's fine. But if you say, how hard is this for you? You might start getting at it. And our checklist is really a way to create people to alertness to what to watch for. Because without really knowing what to watch for, you're not going to pick it up. That's what we tell teachers that the ADHD in boys, the hyperactive, the combined type is easy for teachers to pick up because the child is talking too much in class, is out of seat, is hitting other children, is doing just getting a lot of attention and disrupting the class. The girls, on the other hand, are not that way. They're trying to be perfect. They're trying to not be disruptive, not bring attention to themselves. And so they're quietly missing out. The way we say that you identify it in girls is not one clue. It's a collection of clues. And so you need to know what the collection of clues would be. It would be that we call on them, they don't know what was going on in the class. Their mind was elsewhere. They have messy desks. Might be talking a lot to peers. They don't do the backside of a sheet of paper. They'll turn in the paper without their name on it. They're losing their items. They seem to have trouble sometimes with their relationships with other children in the classroom. Sometimes they end up being isolated and end up liking solitary activities like reading by themselves. I can't go through the whole checklist, but all those behaviors are described there. And if your daughter has a lot of those behaviors, then I encourage you to be concerned.
I will be posting the links as well to your website and stuff after we've in the description of the episode. My next question to you was going to be, can you explain the difference between inattentive ADHD and combined ADHD? And you've just done that beautifully. So, I just love the work that you're still doing. You just, honestly, I'm really in awe of you because I think, you've dedicated 30 years to kind of making a difference for,
Mm.
other people with ADHD and for yourself. Yeah, wow. It's just, I appreciate everything that you've done because it is absolutely mind blowing to think that, for
Well,
33 years you've been doing this work and it's incredible.
Well, and I don't mean to say that girls are the only ones that get missed because boys, especially when they've had the inattentive type, they've gotten missed too. The inattentive type just presents in a way that's so contradictory to the public image of how ADHD is. And that's what we want to educate about is that it presents in several different ways. In fact, it presents in a unique way in every single child, but we need to learn the range of the kinds of presentations it has. So the inattentive type, the definition of it is yes, sometimes we can be want to take high risk activities. Sometimes we can be talkative, but not to the degree that a combined person would be. So, like, I'm here talking today and I'm hoping I'm being, energetic, but I could not maintain this pace all day long. But someone who has the combined type could be at this level of intensity and thinking and talking and nonstop idea generation all day long. So that's how I describe the difference between the inattentive and the combined is sometimes we can do that, but we can't maintain it. And that when people think about having a superpower with ADHD, it's more those high energy people. Those of us that are inattentive, I don't think we'd ever talk about our ADHD being a superpower. And I don't like that language at all to start with. But I think we do have some gifts that come with ADHD, but it takes work to develop to to benefit from our gifts.
Worded perfectly again. My diagnostic journey, I was diagnosed at 43. I was in 2019, and I had absolutely no idea that I had ADHD until I was promoted at work, and the lady that I sat next to said to me, "You do know you've got ADHD, don't you, Emma?" And it's a funny story because I had that instant stereotypical little boy being
Ah,
disruptive in the classroom, like you've just talked about. And it's like, and then I just laughed and I was like, no, I haven't got ADHD. But she printed off a survey for me and, just casually left it on my desk. And when I first saw it, I put it in the drawer. But then a few weeks later, and it I filled it out and it was like, yeah, you've 98% you've got ADHD. And like you, since then, it's how many years? Nearly 7 years ago. But like you, I'm kind of dedicating my life's work to raising
mm.
as much positive awareness around ADHD as possible, really. So I talk about it all the time. I'm studying psychology, so I include ADHD in everything that I can within my academic studies. Yeah, it's really nice to know that you're doing such important work, particularly for the young girls, because I think that's really important.
Well, that's what I'm hoping is that I'm gathering a group of women around me called committed partners, and they are so far all women who were diagnosed late in life. And they care and they help me get this message out. So I want to say, if you, as any listeners, if any of you are really responding to this mission, because you were missed and you care a lot about girls today not being missed, we welcome you to become a committed partner. We also, this past year, I think it's a book that women who were missed would really benefit from reading. It's called Letters to Our Young Selves. It's letters written, each letter is less than 1,000 words, but it includes a picture of the woman when she was a young girl. She writes a letter to that young girl telling her what she wished she had known when she was a young girl, or telling her what her life is going to be like and that eventually it's going to work out. So that's a book of letters to my younger self. It's written by 25 women who grew up unseen for their ADHD. And it's available at Amazon in all the English speaking countries where Amazon is sold. So I know it's there in the UK Amazon store. But also, we have it available on our website as a PDF. So we try to make it available for free. And in our online store, we have a version of it that's an audio book. It's for sale. And I don't know if someone in the UK could buy from our online store. I don't know how all that works.
No, no,
So
me neither.
I guess, yeah, the online store, you should be able to download it because it's audio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing, even better. Can I become a partner? I'd love to become a partner.
Yes. Yes.
Yay!
So
Oh,
let me announce. the link. It's just a carousel that you watch. It's findtheadhdgirls.org/CP, standing for
Right.
Committed Partners. And we have 35 women so far. And what you're doing, Emma,
Yes.
you'll automatically qualify because the key requirements, in addition to making a donation, is that you do something significant every quarter. Do something significant to educate about ADHD in young girls. So we list a lot of the ideas of what you could do, but you're doing a website. It would qualify you automatically. The other thing we ask beyond that is we're posting every day to find the ADHD Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And we ask our committed partners to comment on our posts or to repost our post. So those two things are the activities a committed partner takes on to help us amplify our message. And I'm just starting when someone comments, or I'm always starting to say now that if every woman who went undiagnosed would just do that amount, just to repost our posts, to comment on our posts, that helps more and more people to learn about Find the ADHD Girls. We're not doing it to raise money. We're doing it to raise awareness.
I've actually got quite a few friends that I'm gonna send the link to as well, and I'm sure that they would love to be involved. So
So we have monthly meetings twice a month. You can come to either one. It's the first Monday of the month or the first Saturday of the month. One meeting is at 9 a.m. in the morning Pacific time, so I think it would be 5 p.m. UK time. And the other meeting is at 10 a.m. in the morning, so it would be 6 p.m. UK time. We hope people come to the monthly meetings because that's when we generate ideas, we generate enthusiasm, we get to network with each other, find out what each other's doing. And so we already have, I think, 3 women from the UK that are committed partners, someone in Australia. Most are right now are from the US, but yes,
I mean, yeah, this is exactly the type of thing that, the type of thing that I love to do, like, creating campaigns and making sure that we get as much awareness out about ADHD as possible. So I am all the way in. I'm going to fill in whatever you need me to fill in, and
all
I want to
right.
get involved.
That was my when I first envisioned this, it was that we had the women of the world united, and we don't want the men have ignored us. And so when I see Kathleen Nadeau or Sandra Koji or a lot of Lauterberg, Skoglund. I don't know if you know those names, but they're women that are leaders in the field of ADHD, that we can solve our own problems. We need to get together and solve our own problems, not waiting for the men researchers to think that they might look at us. And so I encourage women who care about this, let's join together. Let's become more powerful together.
Yes. Oh my God, I couldn't have said, oh, you got my little heart racing. I'm like, oh my God, yes, this is amazing. This is exactly the type of thing that I kind of love to be involved in. So yeah, I literally am all the way in. I'll come to all of the meetings.
Come on, Emma.
Yeah,
Come
I'm
on.
in. No,
Oh,
seriously,
well,
I'm in. I know
I
it's
think you
taken.
can say, "I'll try to come to all the meetings."
Yeah, because I'm a bit chaotic and forgetful. So, but I would definitely come to some of them. So, yeah, this is just this is incredible. And I know we've had a bit of technical issues to get us to today, and there's been a few chaotic issues with technology, but I'm so grateful that you had the patience with me to keep coming back until we got here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Well, I've done a few interviews where I have not remembered to record, so that has been very embarrassing to go back and tell people, but you're telling people that have ADHD, so they understand it. In fact, I interviewed Sarah Templeton, who's there in the UK, um, a couple weeks ago and forgot to record it. So she was very pleasant about it, but you have to bite the bullet and fess up when you mess up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing between ADHD women is the fact that we just kind of understand each other. So there is there's that mutual kind of respect and understanding that I think is something that we've probably missed all of our lives.
Yes, that's true. Yes. Mm.
And I think for me personally, it's nice to kind of be around other women or to have other women in my life that understand me so I don't have to continually explain myself and apologize. Obviously, I will apologize because I'm well mannered, but there's things that happen that is out of your control sometimes. So, yeah, and technical issues always seem to happen to me,
Yes.
but
Well,
I try my best.
and I have to say that we would not be where we are except through fortunate circumstances. I got introduced to a woman in Manila who's my administrative assistant. And so much that would would be on me. I mean I've learned a lot, but when I first started, I used to know everything. I used to know how to back in the first nonprofit because it was meeting in person, it was mailing out a newsletter through the post office, it was everything I could understand. But created now is a virtual organization, and it's all in the social media world. It's all new learning for me. And she does things I don't understand,
Hmm.
but I became comfortable with that because before it was everything I understood. But now I have to offload things I don't understand.
Yeah. See, and I love the fact that you've said that because there are always things that we're not going to understand, and but that's okay if we don't understand them. So yeah, that's beautiful. Do you know? I'm in awe of you. I've got to say, the work that you're doing, continuing to do, with find all the girls and stuff, and then still kind of manage to kind of talk about your ADHD experiences as well. So, I think hats off to you for all of your hard work.
Well, I don't know how I lucked into this, but I'm in a training starting next Monday. I hope I can remember things, but it's to learn how to use Chat GPT to a higher level. And to get ready for the training, I'm supposed to work with Chat so Chat understands me on a deeper level. And last night I told this training, they provide me with all the questions I upload to Chat, so Chat turns around and acts like a coach with me, and they're asking me the questions in sequence of learning more about me. So the thing they asked me last night, this is my long way of getting to your point,
Yeah.
is is that what motivates me, and it's not I've always done it for free. I've been fortunate that I don't need to have a salary. So I've been able to run the nonprofits without a salary. So they wondered what my motivation was, and I just said it's making a difference. That has always been my motivation in life, as becoming a social worker, and now everything in the nonprofit world is making a difference. And I think because this is such a niche and it's so well defined, and I love the name we gave our organization, and the ADHD Girls, which we always type as capital. All the word find is big capital letters. I guess you can see it up here by my name. Find is all capital letters, the is lowercase, ADHD is capital letters, and girls is lowercase. So when you look at it, it stands out right away. It's saying find the ADHD girls. And it's so niche oriented that people get it.
I talk about ADHD all the time, every day. It's just I just like talking about it. I like learning about it. I like, so yeah, I'm definitely
I
gonna
don't
be.
know if out after a while, but I used to follow Leanne Maskell. I don't know if you've heard of her. She said that she must she worries that she bores people because that's all she thinks about and talks about and loves, is in love with, you know. It's just so fulfilling and
Yeah, that's
feels
me.
so great. Yeah, yeah.
I ever talk about. I'm surprised I don't drive my partner insane because I literally talk about it all day, every day. I think about it. I talk about. I say I'm obsessed with it, but and it's normally like late diagnosis in women, and then obviously the impact of that. But yeah, so I'm. Yeah, I say to people, I'm obsessed with ADHD. She's everyone with ADHD has got a special interest. What's yours, Emma? ADHD. I like
Well,
talking about it. I'm just fascinated by it, and yeah, I talk about it all the time.
I'd love to meet someone with a woman with ADHD who does not end up in the field. And so
Oh,
many of them are, you know, psychiatrists or a psychologist or a coach or a parent coach or I mean, they're just in the field. Well, yeah, I don't know. The ones I meet that aren't diagnosed, they're doing other things. But the ones I meet that are diagnosed, they're almost always connected to ADHD.
yeah. I mean, I've considered my long-term goals because I'm studying psychology, undergrad psychology, and I'd really like to be a psychiatrist in the UK. But unfortunately, to do that, I'd have to do a medical degree first, and I don't fancy that.
Mm.
So I might because I'd like to be an ADHD psychologist, but I was looking at actually I was looking at it a few days ago. So I'd have to finish my undergrad, do a master's in clinical psychology, and then possibly do some specialist training on ADHD to be able to assess and treat. So it
Ah,
is a little bit of a long process for me, but it's not impossible. Yeah, I mean my kind of experience with higher education and studying with ADHD is something that is, yeah, it's a bit. When I first started, because I'm a distance learner, so I study 100% online. I don't go into a university. And when I first started, I felt really inadequate and I thought, I'm not going to be able to do this. In fact, I thought that they were just going to laugh at my application and kind of just say, yes, no, thanks. You're not. But actually, that hasn't happened. And what's happened within my university and within my studies, I've kind of started learning so much about myself through psychology and the different subjects I've learned. And I feel like, the last year or maybe 18 months, I've just started kind of berating myself internally in my head for having not been able to do, for always being late, for not being able to plan, I can't give you a simple yes or no answer. I have to tell you, I physically can't. I have to tell you the backstory. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I can't, and I've tried, and there's all the things that I've tried and failed in my past. And I think I've just gone through a journey of self discovery within my studies. And I had some strength based coaching, a little over a year ago. And then since then, it's kind of like, I'm just trying to think about my ADHD in positive ways, hence the ADHD Reframe Project from deficit to difference.
I have to tell you a book, Emma, that really helped me. It's called Learned Optimism. And it's an old, old book. But what they tell you in there is when something goes wrong, you say things to yourself to make it, if you envision it as a fire. So when something goes wrong, you say things that puts the fire out as quickly as possible. Like next time I'll study more. Next time I'll get whatever you can say went wrong, but you can fix it. But you're not dwelling on it. You're
Yeah.
just saying, I'm going to move on. Next time I'm going to do better. But on the other hand, when you do something well, it's like a fire, you feed it. You try to get as much out of that thing you did well as possible. So you tell yourself all the things you did that made something go well. Beyond that, for myself, when I learned of my negative self talk, when I would go to bed at night and just review everything that had gone that wrong that day, I started to tell myself I had to, for anything I said that went, that I would, the negative self talk, I had to say something positive. I started to work towards equality. That if I said something negative, I had to find something positive. And eventually I just stopped the talk at all. Negative
Mm.
talk is not helpful in any way. It doesn't improve you. It just deflates you.
One of the reasons why I wanted to kind of start the ADHD Reframe project, or that I talk about ADHD all the time, is because particularly on social media or Instagram, there's so much negativity around, like ADHD and how debilitating it is, or how it's horrific. And I'm like,
Well,
ADHD is
that's to
not.
get attention. That's to get attention, and some people can relate to that, but I love that you're doing the reframe. The reframe is not to say it's superpower, the reframe to say it can be a positive thing in your life.
And I think that's really important as well because, the social media stuff and just specific words that really drives me mad. I had to kind of stop following people on several social medias because they were just posting about like that really toxic, like the word horrific. And I was like, for me personally, like I've had to learn how to use, I call it harnessing my ADHD to and into a daily skill. So I use it to my advantage, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So, for me, when I'm doing anything, I need the urgency of the deadline. So then I could get, like, I say to everyone, lastminute.com, last minute. So everything will be last minute and everything will be rushed. But actually, in that time frame, although it looks very stressful to people around me, but in that time frame, I actually am able to produce my best work. So I try and start the academic writing before the sense of urgency hits, but sometimes it's just a waste of my time because I need the urgency to produce the work, if that makes sense. But
Yeah, but you can prepare.
exactly, exactly. So that's what I do. I make sure I've got a plan. I get all the sources. I save all the references. Everything is there. I just need the urgency to kind of just finish writing it, if that makes sense.
And that's good because sometimes not having those things in place, like not having a pencil or a piece of paper, that can become the roadblock in itself, to do that planning, knowing that, no, I'm not going to start yet, but I'm getting everything in place.
Yeah. And for me as well, I need a certain amount of time to process the information. So this is like, so it's okay for me to sit, but I listen to everything on audio. I can't read
Uh,
like big chunks of text because my brain can't take the information in. So I listen to everything on audio. But for me, I need to kind of go through the lessons, learn the material, but then I also need to allow myself a certain amount of time to process the information that I'm learning. And I say this to people that don't have ADHD and they look at me a little bit like, what? And then I talk to my friend who's also got ADHD and she's like, yeah, I do that as well. Like, and it's almost like it's not a delay in processing, but I just need to allow myself or my brain enough time to process what it's learned. And sometimes advocating for myself within my studies, I'm sure that people look at me like I'm a bit weird, but I'm kind of don't really care anymore because I'm just doing what I do in my way, and I'm not listening to kind of, the neurotypical suggestions that you should do this, this, and this. And I think it's
But
really,
I think what you might pointing out too is that these are things that are common to all people with ADHD because I too am auditory processing. If I hear something, I don't get it right away. I have to be
yeah,
thinking about it. And the same thing again about needing to talk things out to. So in this writing class, if I don't have an idea right away, I have confidence that it's going to come to me, that there's a part of my brain that's going to be stewing on it, although I might not be aware of it, but all of a sudden it's going to pop into my head exactly what I need to do. Years ago, when I was in this organization, I told the head president, I said, well, the idea came to me while I was cooking dinner. And she couldn't imagine that. That for her, she would have probably had to be in a work setting, a set time aside to think about it. But for me, I'm doing something else, and all of a sudden the idea comes into my head. And you're
yeah,
relating to that.
yeah. Completely and utterly. It's almost like the minute that I'm distracted doing something else, the ideas appear in the head. And then the trick is to either write it down quickly or get my phone or, but like, so I don't forget the idea because obviously the brain is like, ching, the brain is spinning on a
Yeah,
thousand
we
axles.
get the idea we wanna do it right now, and sometimes not you're not able to do it right now,
Yeah.
but it was such a good idea, you don't wanna lose it.
Exactly, exactly. So you have to quit. I've actually turned retro recently. I've decided I'm good started writing handwritten notes whenever I'm studying anything because I seem to be able to kind of learn easier that way by writing things down. So, but yeah, my ideas, I have streams of like post-it notes of things that I want to do, like literally like so many. I've just got
Uh-huh.
them everywhere and I'm just like, right, this is a good idea, but it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. So maybe I should try and get some sleep, but the sleep can't come because the brain is just like, oh my God, it'd be amazing. Like, I want to change the world at 1 o'clock in the morning when in
Yeah,
fact what I should be doing is trying to get
yeah,
to sleep. And as well, I think for me is I'm quite animated, but also I kind of it's not that I use humor to deflect, but I think people kind of say to me that they say to me, "You're very animated," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I love that. That's just my
uh-huh,
personality. That's how I am." Yeah, I think I masked a lot of my personality for 43 years, and I just decided,
uh
after I got diagnosed, and then particularly in the I'm not going to mask anymore. Masking is exhausting.
Well, and some women actually they talk about the difficulty of removing a mask, not just for themselves, but for the people around them. The
Yes.
people around them have to learn to accept a new person.
And do you
But
know what? It's
the final
go
point
on.
I wanted to bring up to any of the listeners is which all women that I ever talked to that had ADHD always felt different without knowing why. So if you're out there thinking, I've always felt different without knowing why, that could be your first clue that you might want to look into whether you have ADHD.
Yeah. That's beautifully said. Thank you, Cynthia. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Finally, when we got over the technical issues,
Well,
and
and now, Emma, I know I'll talk to you again. You're going to be a committed partner.
completely and utterly, yeah. I'm in. I'm all the way in. So you're going to see a lot of me. So
All right. Yeah,
it's been
great.
a pleasure, Cynthia, and thank you for all of the work that you've done over the last 33 years. I think it's commendable, and I'm honoured that you agreed to come and talk to me on this podcast. And thank you so much for your time. And to our listeners, I am going to post all of the links that Cynthia has talked about whilst been talking about this. So yeah, huge thank you to Cynthia, and I'll see you. You oh, tongue tied. See, it happens. And to our listeners, thank you for listening and take care.